So sales enablement for me, you can split it into three pieces, right? And I've seen in different companies how each one of those pieces is sometimes owned by different teams. Generally speaking, I've seen some of the time that some of these things fall into product marketing. Sometimes it falls into sales leadership. Sometimes you have a dedicated sales enablement team. And I've seen two cases where a big chunk of that was actually owned by an L&D team. But I'd say to me, sales enablement is like three pieces. It's product enablement, solution enablement, whatever, right? Making it easy for the sellers to understand our positioning, all the ins and outs about product from like technical perspective, et cetera, et cetera. Those things usually fall within product marketing and product. The second piece is in sales enablement to me is around like sales training. It's more around traits, capabilities, skills that are just part of being a good seller. And those things usually fall into like a sales training, like what's the name of the
Sandler, Challenger, Mad Pig,
exactly. And then you'd bring like someone to run a workshop. So you got product enablement, you got sales enablement, and then the last piece I would say is more around kind of trying to optimize the alignment between marketing, SD, sales, and CS. And I found that if you don't have that function that also looks at that as sales enablement, like I think maybe the name is misleading, but then a lot of things just fall through the cracks. And usually most companies are focusing on like product enablement and sales training. And then this whole like, how do we make sure that we have a unified go-to-market motion? No one really owns that. And so no one really monitors that. No one really invests enough time, thought, effort, resources into making that like super smooth. It's one of those things that like if it's not, unfortunately, right, but it's just the nature of the beast. It's not a clear owned KPI for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think no one really looks into these metrics. And so not a lot of people really invest time in thinking, what are the metrics that I really need to monitor? And to be frank, it's hard. How do you measure alignment in a quantitative way? It has to go into like qualitative analysis. And a lot of times people don't have the time or skills or, it's not high on their priority to really start going into that ongoing qualitative research. And so no one owns it. No one has time for it. So it's easily being left out as like that piece of sales enablement. And then, when you have like a siloed organization, you can do really good sales enablement. You can make sure that your sales like are really, really well trained on like the product and the positioning and all of that. And you can make sure that they're really good sellers in terms of sales skills. But if they're not in like extremely good alignment with what marketing is putting out there, how CS is communicating with the existing clients, and how SD is like qualified, then a lot of these programs don't really get to a place where they can realize the full potential in terms of pipeline and revenue. In recent years, we're seeing more and more calls for unified like marketing and sales teams. That's why we have now the role of the CRO that's becoming like a standard. I think up until maybe 2 years ago, most of the CROs that I've seen were heavily focused on sales, right? It was just like a fancy name for a super senior VP of sales. I think we still have a lot of those, but I have already seen a bunch of CROs that were equally looking into like marketing and sales with the sole purpose of like having a unified motion. And I think that under this like office of the CRO, office of the modern CRO, whatever, you could have the VP of RevOps, and you would also probably need to have the sales enablement. It cannot be owned only by marketing, only by sales, only by product, only by L&D. It should be owned by that one person that has the holistic view over the business.